So today's session is all about being a standout agent, right? The world of being a realtor is very, very competitive. You got to come up with ways to value add and distinguish yourself in your crowd of sellers and buyers very quickly. And if you know a few advanced tools like what we're going to talk about today, you're going to be invaluable to your buyer and your seller when they're going through. I always tell Ryan when they're going through that mental Rolodex at the end of the day and they're comparing agents they talk to. If you have control of these topics and you can speak about them in a commanding manner, you don't have to know all the legal implications. You're going to stand out as an agent that they're going to choose. Do you want to intro the topics today, Ryan?
Yeah, so the top topics, and I love this because I work with a lot of investors. It's actually part of my experience here of over 20 years as an agent is working with a lot of investors. So, if you can speak to these topics, with investors, it's going to just help you, be able to secure number one listing or number two, be their buyer's agent. So the big one that we're going to go over is 1031 nuts and bolts. So 1031 exchange. This is obviously a very relevant topic here. Taxes always are, especially with investors and how they can save money on taxes. Next, the big one that I'm learning on, I read part of your thing. We're going to go over qualified opportunity zones.
Ryan, your mic was a little broken up. Your transmission was a little broken up. So we're going to do 1031s. We're going to do cost segregation. And if time permits, we're going to do qualified opportunity zones. I don't want to fly through this stuff. If we don't run out of time, then we'll do qualified opportunity zones in the next session. Go ahead, Ryan, give yourself the personal intro. Let everybody know who you are.
Yeah, my name is Ryan Poole. I been a real estate agent in the trenches, just like you guys, for over 20 years. Love the industry, love meeting other agents. And then I also created...
Oof. Ryan, your transmission is going in and out. So I'm gonna
awesome platform called Realtrade, which is online marketplace and social media platform for real estate.
Ryan, you're going in and out again. So I'm gonna summarize because I know I didn't pick up everything you were saying. So Ryan's the founder of Realtrade. Realtrade is the world's best tool for realtors to build their own real brand. You don't get fleeced by the big platforms, and any buyer that's surfing Realtrade can get right to the seller for the double dip. I genuinely believe in the platform. I'm doubling down with Ryan. I think it's the way of the future, and I think it's a great way for realtors to make money without going broke, spending money on big box platforms. We're going to do 3 topics. Like I said, you can put your questions in the chat. If you put your questions in the chat at the end, we'll have a question and answer period. We'll also go over some time-saving tools at the end. Ryan will go in a little deeper dive on Realtrade. And if you guys would be so kind and you text me future topics you want to talk about, I would love to get in there and talk about stuff that interests you guys. Again, in the meantime, I'm taking calls from realtors every day, texts 24/7. So that's where I get my deep dive. That's where I get my list of topics to go in on. All right. Without further ado, I'm going to jump right in and we will screen share. 1031 basics. 1031 is a very misunderstood topic. A lot of people think they understand it. Many agents. Can you see my stuff, Tajay? Give me the thumbs up if you can see my outline.
Yeah, I can see it.
Many agents, you'll hear agents talk about it. Oh, well, just 1031. But then when you actually hear the agent explain the pieces to a 1031, you'd be surprised how many people don't know what they're talking about. And don't be afraid to ask any questions, right? This is a totally safe forum. You guys have any questions? I'm all about answering your questions. I would love you to walk away. I always say iron sharpens iron. I'd love to walk away, you guys to walk away. And I've tried to boil this thing down so you can talk about the big points. So what is a 1031? It's a like-kind exchange. I hear agents use the term all the time. A 1031 is a tool used by investors to defer paying federal income tax on property sales. What does it mean to defer taxes? The investor eventually pays the income tax, but the goal is to pay at a time when they're in a lower tax bracket. But there are exceptions to this, and it is possible for agents, taxpayers to avoid paying the tax altogether and never pay. What are the basic mechanics of a 1031? So basically you have a seller that's going to sell a piece of property, park the proceeds of the sale. We call that the relinquished property with a qualified 1031 agent. Then use the sale proceeds to purchase a property. We call that the acquired property, and avoid paying the immediate capital gains that would otherwise be due. So if you think about the importance of this, you have somebody who bought a piece of property for 500 grand, it's appreciated to $1 million, they had it for a long time, but if they sell it, they only have a portion of that $1 million to reinvest in new property with you. With a 1031, they could reinvest the entire $1 million.
Wow.
Go ahead, Ryan.
No, that's great. I mean, that's a great point. Let's keep going.
The property must be held for investment. So this is some issues that I hear agents misexplain. The property must be held for investment. The sold and acquired properties must be productive, and the sale and purchase must be investment, not property personally used. Here's the one that gets misconstrued most often. The property must be like-kind properties. They do not have to be identical, like rental for rental or vacant land for vacant land. You can actually sell vacant land and you can buy Airbnbs. All it's got to be is real property. There are some non-real property applications, but for the purpose of this discussion, we're just looking at real property. Real property is dirt and the sticks and bricks attached to the dirt. The acquired property must be identified within 45 days of the sale of the relinquished property. A seller can identify up to 3 properties and can identify more, but with other limitations. The acquired property must be closed on within 180 days of the sale of the relinquished property. This becomes tough in markets like we're in right now. But we'll go over some ways that agents can grow more time for their clients to make this stuff happen in these tight time frames. Practical things for realtors to think about. The time frames can be tight, especially in a seller's market. And there are 2 types of gains that are avoided in the capital gains, right? In the 1031. Everybody thinks about the capital gain. Very few agents mention to the client the depreciation recapture avoidance. We're going to go over our second topic today is cost segregation, and cost segregation and 1031 are 2 of the most powerful tools in real estate. I would go as far as saying the most powerful tools in real estate to avoid paying income tax. And so keep in mind that when you 1031 the sale of a piece of property, there are 2 benefits to your client. Everybody explains the capital gains. Very few remember the depreciation recapture.
Wow.
The general rule is quick sales and flips may not qualify for 1031 exchanges because the held duration period may be too short. Realtors should refer their clients to qualified 1031 exchangers. I'm going to give you guys a few referrals at the bottom to people we've used for the past many, many years successfully. But that held duration would exclude some really short-term investments. An investor can pull money out for a 1031 sale, but they will likely pay tax on that. Somebody's got their mic on, if they could mute themselves out. So if you are selling a piece of property, and let's say you're selling it for $1 million, and you only want to buy a piece of property for $800,000, you could use 1031 proceeds, but you would pay tax on the $200,000 that they call it, that you touched, that you put in your pocket. A reverse 1031 is a tool that works really well in tough markets like we have right now. So if you have a client that sees a property that they would like to purchase today and then do a 1031 on it tomorrow, it is absolutely possible for that transaction to occur. You would take the money out of your pocket to acquire the 1031 property and give it to a 1031 agent. That 1031 agent would go out and acquire the piece of property in the name of the property you're going to sell. So if you're selling a piece of property for Acme Property Holdings, LLC, the 1031 buyer has to be that same name. And so you reach in your pocket, put out the money today, acquire that property today. Then in the future, when you sell your 1031 property, then you would give that money from the sale to the 1031 agent, and the 1031 agent will pay you back. That is invaluable, and I cannot tell you how many times that gets overlooked. So people talk about 1031s going forward and plugging in these agents at the last minute and trying to jam these things together. You don't have to do that. You can if you can get a loan, if you can acquire the property today, if you have cash, you can acquire your target property today, and then you can sell your relinquished property in the future. Use that sale proceed money, pay the 1031 agent with the sale proceeds, and then the 1031 agent pays you back for the money you put in to acquire the property. Multiple sales can be wound into a 1031. So you can sell 5 or 6 pieces of property and then acquire your 1031 target property, your acquired property. You can also sell multiple pieces of property in reverse and do like we talked about earlier, where you acquire your property and then you sell multiple properties over time. The timing can be tricky, but it can absolutely be done. You can also sell one property and you can acquire multiple 1031 properties. And here's one, let's see. So a 1031 property can be converted to personal property if it's kept as an investment at least 2 years from the acquisition. Now I'm going to tell you guys something that may or may not shock you, but you will not hear this probably too many times over. But you can actually take 1031 property and convert it to personal use. So we have a client that had a property. Yeah, it's amazing. We had a client that had multiple Lake Worth properties, and they had their eye on waterfront property in Delray for retirement. And so what they did was they sold their multiple Lake Worth properties. They actually did a reverse, but let's just do it in forward. So they've sold their multiple Lake Worth small dollar properties, relatively small dollar properties, and they plowed it all into a 1031. They acquired their waterfront retirement dream home in Delray with the 1031 proceeds. They turned that property into an Airbnb for a couple of years, and it was still titled in the entity name. And then after 2 years of seasoning the property as the 1031 Airbnb, they titled it into their name. They renovated the house and titled it into their name personally, and never paid capital gains on the Delray waterfront property. So imagine you have a whole ton, not a whole ton, but many, many small properties, you sell them, and instead of being able to reinvest a fraction of that sale proceed because you paid capital gains on it, you invest all the money from the sales into the new property, and then you never pay capital gains on the appreciation in any of the properties after you convert it to personal use. 2 years seasoning as the investment property, it can be converted. I know it's going to cut against the grain on a lot of things.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. And imagine if their dream home, I guess we'll get into it if we have time, was in an opportunity zone, right? Too.
So an investor can make personal use of the property, and then along the way, if you wanted to make personal use of the 1031 property, you can make personal use of the property if it's not more than 14 days in a 12-month period or more than 10% of the rented days. So I hear people frequently ask their agents, can I use the property that I 1031? And the answer is yes. You just have to limit the amount of time you use. The relinquished property and the acquired property must be titled in the same name. We talked about that earlier. And here are a few 1031 agents we've used over the years successfully. I will say Marie Flavin, Head and Shoulders, is the best I've had. We have actually had agents plug her in, I want to say the day before closing, at least 2 days before closing. It might have been the day before closing, and get these things done. They're not expensive. I think $1,200 to $1,500, something like that. We'll get a lot of agents calling us, or not a lot of agents, we'll get sellers calling me and they'll ask about low dollar properties. Is there an advantage? And the reality is there's not a whole lot of advantage, but if you're going to do a bigger property, you can do these things last minute if you just learn of your client's requirement or desire to do stuff like that. We'll go over questions on this and cost segregation shortly. We'll do it together. Can you see the cost segregation outline, Ryan?
Yeah, we had a quick question here, Jim. We forgot to say, if you have any questions, put them into the chat. But Federico asked, can a foreign investor use a 1031 exchange as well?
Absolutely. The foreign investor is treated just like a domestic investor. You just have to take into consideration FIRPTA.
Okay, great.
All right. So in the so this is now we're shifting gears. We were talking about 1031s, and 1031s are going to be an integral part of our discussion on cost segregation. And the reason I didn't want to cover too much today is because I want to take time to answer people's questions. I can guarantee you, if anybody has a question, other people in the group have the same question. So don't be afraid to ask. So now we're talking about
Katie had a quick question. You can put it in the chat, Katie, or if you have time here to.
Yeah. Hey, Jim. Sorry.
That's okay.
So my question is like, I have this couple right now. They own a home, but they also own a second home and condo in the beach. So if they sell their personal home, they can have that $250,000 deduction on capital gains, right? And then they can just convert their investment property to homestead. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, those are two different rules. So you're talking about the marital exclusion, which has nothing to do with capital gains. We can go over that at the end, but there's the 250 is the marital exclusion, 250 per person, 500 for joint. But
I guess my question was that they've owned this investment property for 2 years now, so they've already diverted and did the 1031 exchange. They can now convert that property into their homestead.
So the
second property.
So the investment property was acquired. So the general rule is you can convert investment property, 1031 acquired property, to personal use if you've seasoned it as an investment property for 2 years. So think of that example. The people bought the property with 1031 money, their retirement home with 1031 money. They Airbnb'd it for 2 years, so it was productive under the rule. It generated income. And then in the third year, they stopped generating income, titled the property themselves personally, and never paid, boom, capital gains on the monies that were bought, that were on the properties that were sold to acquire the 1031 dream home.
Okay, got it. So I missed the part where so they have not been using it to generate money, so that would not qualify.
They have to, 2 years after you acquire the 1031 property, the target property, it has to be productive, and then you can convert it to personal use. All right.
Okay.
Cost segregation. Cost segregation is a complementary tool. It can be used independent of 1031 or in addition to 1031. But I want to make sure everybody has the 1031 thing down. And now we're going to talk about accelerated depreciation and cost segregation. So in the hyper-competitive world of being a realtor, you need every edge. Knowledge is power. Somebody just told me that as we were walking into this meeting, and I thought it just resonated so loudly. Knowledge is power. Cost segregation accounting, or sometimes referred to as cost seg, is one way savvy investors make money, or better put, the way they keep more money in their pocket. There is a good reason self-storage facilities are such popular investment vehicles. Cost seg. They're great for protecting income. Important to remember, a property doesn't, so as a realtor, we're trying to find our clients these great properties, save them a bunch of money on the acquisition. Everybody says you make all your money in the buy. I agree. If I'm buying property, I want to make sure I'm not buying it over market. However, implementing a cost segregation strategy. I have a client that brings investors in from overseas, and they're always looking for these bargains. We turned them on to cost segregation. Now they're buying full price property and they're ecstatic. A property does not have to have a positive cash flow to be an important part of a portfolio and make the investor real money. A property bought at market value, market rates in a seller's market can be especially attractive, and you'll find out, we'll talk about why in a minute. So as a realtor, you're looking at investment properties, you're looking for properties for your clients, and they say, oh my God, this is, we're paying market value. Why would I do this? There are great reasons. And when combined with strategies like 1031 exchanges, the net effects are powerful investment tools. Simply put, cost segregation accounting is a tax strategy that allows investment property owners to accelerate depreciation, take bigger deductions, and defer and even reduce their tax liability. Here are the basics. The real property must be productive commercial investment property. Only the building, non-real property, equipment, washing machines, etc., and land improvements, sidewalks and parking lots are cost seg depreciable. Land is not cost segregation depreciable. I'll send you guys these outlines afterwards. They'll be available on our website. So don't feel like you got to write this stuff down. If you go to Title Leap, if you go to newpathtitle.com, you click on Realtor Resources, you'll see Title Talk blogs. You can go down there and grab all these outlines. Don't write the stuff down. What qualifies? Single family homes, Airbnbs, multifamily apartments, complexes, commercial complexes, malls, manufacturing facilities, anything you can think of that's income producing, not vacant land. However, vacant land with a parking lot used to park cars could be cost segregated. A cost segregation professional does a cost seg study and breaks down the physical elements of a property into its components: roof, AC, electrical, plumbing, flooring, etc., everything but the land. And then they assign a value to each piece and then depreciate it. So you can take a monthly depreciation, annual depreciation deduction. For example, a roof has a 10-year life, and it costs $100,000. The deduction from income would be $10,000 a year. Generally, however, a rental property has a 27.5-year useful depreciable life. So in our example above, with straight line depreciation, the owner could deduct $29,000 from income each year. How do you get that? You have this $800,000. We bought the $1 million property. $800,000 of it was the building and improvements to the land. You divide that by 27.5 years, you get a deduction from income of $29,000 per year. So if your rents were $100,000 on that building, you would be paying, before cost segregation, you'd be paying income on the $100,000 less the depreciation, $29,000. So your income would be roughly $70,000 a year. You pay tax on the $70,000. That's with straight line depreciation. With cost segregated depreciation, generally you can expect to get a 10-year depreciable life. So on the same example, you could deduct $80,000 annually from income. So if you had $100,000 in rental income on that $1 million property, now you would only pay tax on $20,000. Anybody doesn't understand that, don't hesitate for a second, speak up. I'm more than happy to explain it again. But you're keeping $80,000 in your pocket instead of paying taxes on it. You're keeping an extra 50 grand in your pocket over straight line depreciation. With cost segregation depreciation, generally speaking, on residential rental property, a 10-year depreciable life is, we said that. This strategy literally puts an extra $51,000 a year in the taxpayer's pocket. On some properties, you can actually get as low as 5 years depreciable life. So there are some properties, like we were talking about earlier, the storage facilities, the self-storage facilities, they use those flimsy I don't know if you guys have ever seen this, but you walk into a self-storage facility, they got those flimsy corrugated doors, they've got really, really inexpensive framing components, all kinds of stuff. Those things break even at the end of the year. Some of them make a good money, but the newer ones break even at the end of the year. Why do they put them together so flimsily? it's so that they can take one reason is so they can take accelerated depreciation and actually get 5-year depreciable life out of those things. So if you had that same piece of property and it was a 5-year depreciable life, that would put an extra $131,000 a year in the taxpayer's pocket versus a straight line depreciation on that same $1 million property with $800,000 in improvements. Boom. It just,
Incredible.
you know, when you hear about, this is not a politically motivated show. When you hear about certain very successful, financially successful politicians, and you say, how are they not paying any taxes? This is a big component of how they not pay taxes. And the secret to this stuff isn't necessarily the cost segregation itself. The cost segregation is great and the cost segregation is beneficial, but by accelerating the depreciation deductions, a business can reduce their taxable income and, more importantly, get their money redeployed and make more money. However, beware, all that glitters is not gold. In our example above, after 10 years, so we're not going to do the 5-year model, but the 10-year model, it's nice and safe. Our taxpayer has no more annual deductions. And now when they make that $100,000 on their rental property, they're paying taxes on the full $100,000. Not good. How do we reset the clock? How do we get back that depreciation recapture? How do we get the capital gains? And to make things a little more juicy, in that 10-year period, the property, this is my old outline. Let's just say the property went from that original $1 million, 1 mil, to 1.5 mil. So now they want to reset the clock and start taking depreciation again. But if they sell the property, they have to pay depreciation recapture and appreciation capital gains on the appreciated value. So now the property went from $1 million to $1.5 million. How do you how do you get out of this mess and back into a tax advantage situation? 1031 exchange. You take that piece of property, you sell it, and you acquire a 1031, and now you've avoided the depreciation recapture and you've avoided the capital gains. And you've reset the clock on depreciating your new asset. And so now you jump back into a cost seg situation on the new asset. That's our developer, Lucky, one of our guys on the team, is back there building title lead. So you cost seg out, and then you reset the clock, and you buy another property and start the 10-year clock all over again, and you can cost seg out of that one as well. You can 1031 out of that cost seg situation as well. And if you wanted to, you could end up buying your Delray dream property. So now you've paid no income tax or very little income tax along the way on your rental income. You've paid no appreciation on the sale and capital gains at every one of those steps when you sold out and bought into new property at your 10-year interval. And then you've bought a piece of property that was your dream home that you Airbnb'd, and you never paid tax on any of the income along the way.
Incredible.
I see Frederico pondering what I've said. This stuff is so powerful, you guys. Again, when I get back to these, you hear about successful investors saying they pay no tax. It's because of cost segregation and 1031ing. And there was a time, I think, early in the current administration when they were talking about doing away with the 1031 rules. It got shot down. 1031s are here to stay. They're very powerful. That's why you see many investment vehicle properties turn. Okay, so you'll even see properties sell. You'll see sellers that are selling the property inexpensively in that 5 or 10 year window, and you'll wonder why they're doing this when they could be selling it during a seller's market instead of during a buyer's market. That's why I said property doesn't have to positively cash flow to make the owner money. And if the taxpayer is an IRS qualified real estate professional, so you talk to your CPA and they designate you as a qualified real estate professional, and that just means you spend so much of your time, a certain percentage of your time working on real estate transactions, then even passive non-income on non-real property can be offset with gains that you got through cost segregation, benefits that you got through cost segregation deductions. So imagine offsetting stock gains with real estate losses. That's how powerful it is. How do you get started? Hire a qualified cost segregation analyst to do a cost seg study of the property. The study becomes the basis of the accelerated depreciation justification for your IRS tax return. I'm going to put a few cost segregation analysts in the bottom of the outline. Again, they'll be available on the New Path website. And you guys can get that stuff anytime you want, and you can refer your clients to, I have no financial relationship with any of the people we put on the referral list. They're just people that have done a good job for us in the past. Does anybody have a question on cost segregation? We're at 30 minutes. I'm inclined to put off the opportunity zones discussion for a future topic, for a future date. It's my goal to get you guys in and out. Unless everybody said they wanted to hear it, we can do it now, but I'd love to take some question and answers if anybody had any.
Yeah, Katie had one. So her question is, so they avoided the depreciation recapture just to pay it later if they don't do a 1031 exchange?
Correct. And so people would say, oh, I would rather pay it now, but think about the money you could have made had you cost seg the property and you're getting money out earlier. You could reinvest earlier, which will give you income to offset the depreciation recapture when you sell if you don't 1031. So it's the time value of money that you have to keep in mind. The time value of money is what you're getting your client. And cost seg makes sense even if they are not going to 1031 out of the property.
Yeah. Federico, you have a question?
Yeah. Hi all. Hi Jim. Hi to Drew.
Yeah, man.
The question is, can the agent be a trust? I mean, what happened when the owners die or want to leave it to the kids?
So so an entity owns the property, and your question, I think, is can a trust own 1031 property? And to be completely honest, I used to know the answer to that, and I do not remember the answer right now. All the 1031 stuff I've been doing for the last 10 years has always been an LLC or a corporation, and 90% of it is LLCs. But I think your question is, if the property was purchased with 1031 assets and the owners die, the owners of the entity die, then is there a tax due? So the answer to that question is, just because the owners of an entity die doesn't have any legal implication on the entity. So if you have Acme Corp bought property with 1031 proceeds and the single member of Acme Corp dies, Acme Corp is still alive. The beneficiaries of the decedent of Acme Corp step in the shoes of the owner, but Acme Corp continues along just like it was. It's not like in wills and trusts when you have estate taxes and somebody dies and they own property. Entities, so the easy answer is entities survive the death of the shareholders or the members. And so the tax benefits don't go away just because the principal shareholders or members died. And then the shareholders can also, which is a good point that you bring up, shareholders and members can also sell their interest to other shareholders and members so that they can get the personal benefits. So that the cost segregation benefit flows through to the shareholders and members. And the reason I say shareholders and members, right? Shareholders own corporations and members own LLCs. And so the benefit of the cost segregation flows through to the members and the shareholders personally. So if you have a company that is owned by several shareholders or members, and we'll just call them shareholders. We'll just lump it all into one pool. They each personally get the benefit of the cost segregation deductions on their pro rata proportion of ownership. So if Federico and Jim own a property 50-50 and we have 100 grand in cost segregation losses, you get a $50,000 deduction from income, I get 50, and we're both happy. If we have 3 partners and Ryan's in the pool, Ryan would get 33,000, I would get 33,000, Federico gets 33,000, provided we all have equal ownership. And if we didn't have equal ownership and Federico owned 75% and Ryan owned 24%, and I owned 1%, we'd each get our pro rata portion of that 100 grand benefit deducted right from our income. So our taxable income goes down. The thing that's really cool is if you get determined, if you get qualified as a professional real estate investor, a real estate professional, I think is the term they use, then you can offset all kinds of gains in your life, in your tax life, your income life. Any other questions?
Robbie had a quick one. He said, I just sold a flip at the end of March, held for 107 days and closed on a new property that day. Is it too late to seek a 1031 exchange?
Great question. So as soon as what they call you touch the money, then you can't qualify for a 1031. Whether you're doing a forward 1031 or a reverse 1031, you take the money, you have to, whenever the property is sold or acquired, the money has to sit with a qualified 1031 agent. So we use Marie Flavin at a 1031 exchange. And if we're doing a 1031 acquisition, when the property is sold, the title agent, New Path Title, sends the money directly to Marie at 1031 exchange. She sits on the money for the period until they close on the new property. When they close on the new property, Marie sends the money to us and we fund the acquisition of the new property. If you do it in reverse, the investor reaches in their pocket, sends the money to Marie, Marie buys the property. Marie has titled the property into the investor's company, but when the investor sells their 1031 property, that money has to go directly from the title agent directly to the 1031 agent. Then the 1031 agent can pay the money back to the investor in the reverse 1031. Reverse 1031 sound exotic and they might seem a little daunting or whatever, and nobody talks about it. At least I don't hear people talking about it. But reverse 1031, in my opinion, should be done more frequently than a conventional 1031 because it gives you the gift of time to sell your relinquished property. The only hurdle is you don't have the cash in your pocket to go out, or you don't have the cash to go out and buy the acquired property. You have to come up with financing prior to the sale of the relinquished property. Any other questions?
During we had one, a 1031 relinquished property. Can you buy into a Delaware statutory trust as a 1031 DST?
Jim, I was just making a statement. You
Okay.
can. So
I have to be honest, I used to know what a Delaware statutory trust was and whether
it's basically like an Amazon, to give you an example, an Amazon distribution center has you buying shares of that property. So our company gives in the commercial division gives a full class on Delaware statutory trusts as 1031 exchanges. So I think it's trending now. I think it's something that's trending now.
Well, I would love to do a DST session if everybody wants to do it. Next time we're 40 minutes into it. Next time I propose we do the qualified opportunity zone, and we'll come up with something catchy to do in addition to QOZs and QOZ funds or QO funds. They're relatively complicated, but the 1031, but I wanted to just focus on 1031s and cost seg, because cost seg, I've been doing real estate for 40 years. And so I had all kinds of people, I get calls from sellers all the time and they tell me about these exotic things they've heard about. I never really spent a ton of time drilling down on cost segregation. I have to be honest. And then I had a young guy come in my office. He was the manager of a private equity fund about 3 months ago. And he came in and he broke down cost segregation for me so simply. And I did my own little personal investigation, and then the light bulb went off, and Tajay and I worked together closely. He's on string with us today, and I just keep coming back to this thing, more excited than the last time I talked about it, because it's simple and it's powerful and it's amazing, and you just have to be disciplined enough to keep it in mind, set it up properly at the onset, and then in your framework in your head, you're thinking, okay, I don't have to make money on the property every year because I'm going to get this tremendous tax benefit. And at the end, I'm going to have appreciation. And if you 1031 out, you don't pay income tax on either. Sorry. It just, yeah,
It's a great tool.
All right, you guys, if you want to hang out for a little bit, Ryan, tell us about Real Trade. We'll wrap it up.
Yeah, no, it's fun. This is really detailed information, Jim. Thanks for sharing all this. I mean, been working with investors for close to 20 years, and this cost seg is a big one. You know, you can see really how you leverage this. And as agents, we're using these tools to help us get more deals and make more money. Those deals.
Tell us about Real Trade. Real Trade, is the best tool on the planet.
Yeah, let me just put this, guys.
Yeah.
I built literally Real Trade for us agents. Okay, I wanted a way for us to actually get leads off our own data, off our listings. So the cool thing is it's free for agents. You create a profile on Real Trade. Buyers and sellers can actually find you directly on the platform, not only your profile, but your listings, and you're the point of contact. So there's agents right now that are making 50 grand, you know, just talking to agents the other day that made 50 grand from a direct deal on Real Trade. So it's free. So I say, create a profile, do that. We also have tools too to help you sell properties quicker. We have a social aspect. We connect with other agents, service providers, put it on a social feed, sell properties with a couple of clicks. That's literally how I try to set up Real Trade. So it's a great tool. A lot of agents are on there. There's over 1,200 agents, thousands of buyers and sellers are right now. So definitely take advantage of that. Realtrade.io.
Here's the thing that blows me about Real Trade the biggest is absolutely buyers access to sellers agents directly in the double dip. But also, if you're a buyer's agent and you don't find what you want on the internet, on MLS, every seller's agent knows a bunch of sellers that are thinking about selling, but they're not ready to list. So if you're a buyer's agent and you post on Real Trade in their social media feed, I have a client that's looking for this. Every one of those seller's agents that knows a seller that's getting ready to list or they're dragging their heels or something, that seller's agent can go to that seller and say, look, I have a buyer for your property. And so you're getting in the ear of all these sellers, agents that know of properties that aren't on the market.
Yeah. Powerful tool.
I think it's
thanks for that, Jim.
Well,
buyers needs, a lot of agents are using it, and I'm using it myself.
I'm going to go off again for another second, because here's what I don't understand. Realtors bust their butt to get the listing. Then the MLS scrapes the listings and sells it to the big box platforms. And the realtors have to pay to be on the big box platform. So you have to pay to play in your own sandbox. Sorry, I get worked up. It blows my mind.
It is. It's kind of like the mafia, Jim. You know, so we're trying to break that up. So it's the big thing. You can create a profile. It's free. You own your listings. You can create your own brand. It's actually pretty awesome. Be happy to. You can book a demo on Real Trade. It's free to book a demo as well. So I'll help you through the process.
A couple more things I want to go over, the value add that we bring to the table. So you guys, anybody who wants it, go to New Path Title. You can text me 24/7 for any real estate transactional support. Title Advance has been hugely successful for us. You got a listing, you want to walk in, you want to look like the most prepared agent. That's who the seller hires. Go to titleadvance.io. Get your title advance. Walk into your listing, nail it, but also, and more importantly, know exactly what getting the closing looks like. And when the seller tells you they only have one mortgage and you see on the title advance, there's a mortgage and a HELOC and a PACE or a wide green loan, then you can tell the seller, set expectations properly up front, but as importantly, also, if these things have to be resolved, like code lien violations, we can do that stuff ahead of closing. Title Leap saves you tons of time. If you guys aren't using it, Title Leap will remind you of all the transactional issues that come up on the road to closing ahead of time, keep you the best informed agent. And I had a realtor the other day tell me, and it brought tears to my eyes. She said, "I love Title Leap. It made me look like a rock star in front of my buyer and seller." And that's what it's all about. Keeping everybody on the same page, saving time, and looking like the best agent on the planet. New Path Title, we close deals. James Brown Law, we love wiping out code lien violations, structuring leases, evictions, anything you have real estate related. And we do hard money loans. If you know people that have to get bridges or doing fix and flips or seasoning on Airbnbs, we do hard money loans, and we close in crypto. So if you know people who want to close in crypto, we can do that. And as soon as we slow down from all the other things we're doing, we're going to start implementing our blockchain, minting an NFT, and then blockchaining the deed. So anything I left out, Tajay?
No, that's amazing, Jim.
I think you hit everything. I just want to add to something. Hi, everyone. I'm Tajay. I'm a closer here in Jim's office with New Path. Agents, I think the only thing to add is that Jim and myself and the whole team, we're always here. Even if we're not doing the closing or we're not a part of the transaction, Jim's always available just to, help you get through transactions. A lot of times you get in those road bumps and you don't know what to do. He's always available, and we'll do title advances even if we're not the closing agent, just to get you to that closing table and support you guys as much as we can.
Good point. And then the nice thing about you guys contacting me, like I talked about earlier, you call me about some crazy obscure scenario, and now I make it into a discussion, and we can all learn from it, and we can all benefit, and we burn less calories on the road to the closing table. All right, you guys text me any future topics. It's been a huge pleasure. This is the best part of my day. See ya.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.